Hi Eliza, it's Gregory Scott here. It's really nice to be with you. Thank you for asking me to do this reading. It's a real pleasure to be able to do this for you. I've got your details in front of me and I just want to confirm the birth details because I've drawn up your chart. I just want to make sure that I'm looking at the right thing. So I've got the 27th of October 1956. 27th of October 1956 at 9:12 a.m. Yeah, and that's in Tucson, Arizona. Tucson, Arizona. Perfect. Okay, great. So I've got your chart. Eliza, the way I'm going to do this reading, you've asked me some questions, and then you've mentioned that you're interested in whatever I have to say, so that's great. The way I'm going to do it is I'm going to have a look at your birth chart. I'm not sure if you've had your birth chart done before or not, but I really would like to analyze your birth chart just to see what I get for it and to see what's going on. Then I'll have a look at your questions, the Saturn question and work. That might come up in the natal reading as well. I'll have a look at the transits to see what's coming up for you in future. And then if I've got time, I might even do a solar return chart. So I'll do you a really in-depth reading. And I'm also going to use the cards to give me further information on things like your work and what's coming up there. So I'm just going to grab my deck of cards. Okay, there we go. Perfect. All right. So already, let's get started then. Okay. So yes, you are a Sagittarius rising. You mentioned that in your email. And the rising sign is what you're really like without trying. Okay. Oh, and by the way, first of all, I can immediately say that Saturn isn't going to be such an ordeal for you because Saturn is right. It's in Sagittarius right on top of your rising sign. Okay. So that's in your birth chart. That's something you're very familiar with. So this Saturn in Sagittarius is going to be more like a homecoming for you than anything. Okay. So I'll look at that in more details, but I really wouldn't be particularly alarmed about that. So the rising sign is what you like without trying. Sagittarius, you're someone who's constantly trying to expand, to grow, to expand your horizons, to appreciate more of the world. And you usually have one area of focus that you're working towards. It means that your entire chart is ruled by Jupiter, the planet of good luck and good fortune, and that's a wonderful ruler to have. It's the most positive planet, the most benefic planet in the solar system, and it's about expansion and growth. That is in your 10th house of career in Virgo. So you have a very, very focused and powerful drive towards achieving at work and about getting things done in that area of your life. Your sun is in Scorpio, and that's in your 11th house. Now, the sun is what you're striving towards. So you're coming from this place of being a rising sign, a Sagittarius rising sign, which is very cool, which is very kind of cerebral, focused on higher knowledge, focused on real world goals, and not so focused on interpersonal relationships. What you're striving towards is Scorpio, which is all about personal relationships. It can be a very controlling sign. It demands intensity. It demands connections that are really genuine and emotionally quite full and quite powerful. So you're trying to get from this kind of cerebral up here place, and you're trying to get to the nitty gritty of real emotional connection with other people. It's quite an interesting mix because both of them have quite a powerful feel to them. Both of those signs, Sagittarius, the centaur, very masculine. Scorpio being a feminine sign, but also very, very powerful, very much a formidable force. So between those two, you're going to be someone who's intelligent, intellectual, aware of what they're doing, and who really looks beneath the surface. So as soon as you kind of appear, I think people would say, okay, Eliza, that's almost like a force to be reckoned with. This is someone who's quite powerful and who exudes an air of strength. Your moon is in Leo, in your ninth house of expansion and growth and education and travel, which is traditionally ruled by Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is your rising sign. Now, it's ruled by Leo in your chart, which is another fire sign. And that's interesting because what you're going to feel mostly nurtured by and most comfortable with is education, learning new things, expanding your mind, but also traveling and really connecting with the world in a real tangible way. So there is an element of kind of performance there, and what's important for you to realize is that all of these planets, pretty much most of them, are in the southern hemisphere of your chart, so the top half, and that's about the outer world, that's about connecting with other people, that's about the public. So you're going to be a people person. What you're doing in the world is highly structured and connected with other people, especially in regard to work and being part of an institution. And the more you can kind of give your moon presence and satisfaction here by being in a position of, look at me, I have some power here, the more satisfied you're going to be in any situation, and the more you're going to feel nurtured by it. Your midheaven is in Virgo, but before I look at that, I just want to touch on these elements that you've got. You've got a lot of powerful elements. You've got fire, earth, and water, all very powerful. What you don't have so much of is air. So air is about exchanging information and being flexible and being really, really adaptable, and sometimes being a little bit scattered as well. You can go with the flow. You've got a lot of water here. You've also got a lot of mutable modes. So you are very adaptable, but the main focus for you is the real world and getting excited about it and being passionate about it. Okay? So remember, the sun is in Scorpio here, but that's really one of the only two things, or three things really, that's in water. The rest is fire and earth. And your personality pretty much is very much a fiery and earthy personality. You want to be doing something that's meaningful, you want to do something that's powerful, and you want to have practical success in the real world. And that takes me to your midheaven. Your midheaven is in Virgo, and I just want to read you some of these vocations associated with Virgo, because you have asked about career, and this will give you kind of an idea of what your aptitudes are. I mean, you were born in 56, so you've been working for a while. You're going to be, let me just calculate it so I've got it right. You're going to be 59 this year, okay? So it's also your Saturn return. You're in that time of your life as well. That's interesting. But okay, by the age of 58, you will have worked and you'll have discovered what your aptitudes are. But your Virgo midheaven gives you a certain power and strength, particularly in vocations dealing with analysis, detail, and technical expertise. So statisticians, accountants, bookkeepers, computer programmers, IT people, stuff like that. Teachers of technical subjects, stenographers, critics, inspectors of all types. So anything to do with a lot of detail and focusing on the minutiae of life, okay? Draftsmen, graphic artists, technical illustrators, craft people, and specialists. It also gives you a real aptitude for being a health worker. So someone in a health occupation or the social services, mental health worker, a therapist, a psychiatrist, a psychoanalyst, social workers, employment counselors, nurses, doctors, massage therapists, respiratory technicians, dental hygienists, dentists, secretaries, office managers, food service workers, dietitians, nutritionists, veterinarians, zoologists. Virgo is very good at health and the body and food, and it's also good at taking care of animals. Sanitation workers, janitors, public health officials, house cleaners even. Okay, so in your email, you're looking for a job, although you'd like to retire. Okay, you're particularly interested in personal finances and jobs where you might and what might. Oh, I'm particularly interested in personal finances, so your personal finances, not the topic of personal finance, and jobs. Okay, we'll see what's coming up for you there. But these kind of areas maybe will give you something to ponder, because obviously you're not going to retrain now as a psychiatrist. You know, you'd be 65 or something by the time you finished, and then you'd have to, if you want to retire now, then that's no good. So the key things here are vocations dealing with analysis, detail, and technical expertise. You can do that anyway, and you've got experience in that. So working in office, working with some sort of technology sort of thing. Import, export for you, I get as well. Anything where you have to manage information, break it down, and make sense of it. You know, that could be something outlandish like writing the TV guide, because you have to focus on detail. It could be sorting through specific fabrics. So there's a lot of jobs available where you don't need to kind of retrain, and where you can use your skills and transfer them. And the main focus is kind of an eye for detail. That's something you're going to be very good at. And also, if you're wanting to retire, then we're going to need a job for you that's kind of skilled and that isn't so kind of heavy on you in terms of manual labor, and even the hours. So something like an office job, or something where you work in a kind of comfortable setting would be better for you. Okay. So I hope those give you some ideas, because you don't need to kind of retrain. And I'm just being prompted, I just want to pull some life purpose cards on this as well. I should have got my cards out before, excuse me. I was cleaning up earlier and I put them all in my cupboard here. So okay, so let me draw 3 cards on this. Okay, that's interesting. I get yoga. Your life is enhanced by yoga, stretching, and exercising. So that makes sense with the Virgo, midheaven, because again, it's health, it's the physical body, and it's the details of the physical body. So I'm not sure if yoga is something you're familiar with, or whether doing exercise is something you're familiar with. If you're that familiar that you would feel comfortable being a yoga teacher or an instructor or a fitness trainer or something like that. Again, something to consider, because you and the body are very, very good, and you can focus on the details of that. The next card is your natural, and it's energy healing. Your natural energy healing abilities are an important part of your life purpose. And again, the interesting thing is we've got the chakras there again. So maybe consider doing something with chakras. Maybe working with people, because chakras, I mean, it doesn't get much more detailed than focusing on the chakras. That's a real kind of very untangible thing to focus on. You could do very well with that. But also energy healing in terms of working with people, again, focusing on their body. However, if you're looking to, I mean, what these kind of cards are saying, they're kind of pushing you towards the direction of self-employment. And for you, self-employment would work. You do have that Virgo, midheaven, you have Sagittarius and Scorpio. You could control the situation very well. You certainly have the ability to be self-employed. But the thing about energy healing, for instance, it's quite difficult to make a living with that full-time. Yoga, for instance, is much easier to make a living with. If you train as an instructor, you can actually do that. But again, being self-employed initially takes a lot of energy that you have to kind of pour into the business. And again, what you said in your email is you'd like to retire. Okay, so I really feel that for you, it's about finding something that you enjoy for the next 5 or 10 years, even, at a stretch, and then retire then, rather than start a whole new business. The final card I've got is flowers. Working with flowers opens your heart and brings blessings to others through your life purpose. Now, I get a really good feeling about you and flowers, because flowers are a very Virgo kind of thing. It's the physical world, it's beauty, and it's sorting through them is thrilling to a Virgo midheaven because you're looking at the details of the situation, you're making things look beautiful, you're making things look nice. You can almost communicate with the flowers when you're working with them. And that's something, consider doing that. I mean, you work very well with information, okay? So working in a flower shop, for instance, or for a florist, you don't need to especially be trained as a florist or be some sort of flower expert. You can work in the admin side of things and then maybe even dabble a little bit with working with flowers. But when I think of that, I get a real sense of joy for you. I think you'd absolutely love working with flowers. I think flowers lift your spirit. I think they charm you. I think you almost communicate with flowers. That's really what I get very strongly. And it does open your heart and brings blessings. So really look at maybe finding some sort of a job in a florist. You know, the florists need someone to do the box, and they need someone to order the stock in, and they need someone to order the ribbons and do all of those things. So, you know, that would be something that would be quite fun for you. And again, it would be an established business. You wouldn't have to set up your own business. You could slot into that, and I think you'd get a lot from it. Okay, so let's look at some of these other planets here then. You've got 3 planets in your 11th house of relationships, social relationships, and hopes and dreams. You've got the Sun, and you've got Sun in Scorpio, you've got Neptune in Scorpio, and you've got Mercury in Libra. This is very interesting because the Sun is what you're trying to achieve, what your ego is, and for you to work with other people and to feel like you're making a difference is going to be hugely important for you. Again, like I said, you are a people person, you operate well in the public, but it's got to be meaningful and you've got to feel like you matter and you make a difference, and if you're not there, it would be a terrible thing. You know, you've got to feel needed. Scorpios need to feel needed. But Neptune in Scorpio is great because Neptune is the dream planet. It's the water planet of the unmanifest. It's where you get your messages through, and it's also where you're aspiring towards. And whenever the Sun and Neptune come together to form any kind of connection, whether it's a conjunction like here or a square or an opposition, the person becomes highly intuitive. And you get intuitive messages, I think, from working with other people, and I think you're something of an empath. You also have Mercury there in Libra, and Mercury is the communication planet. In the sign of Libra, it's very good because it's about building bridges with other people, communicating in a harmonious way. And even though it's not the sign that it rules, Mercury is very comfortable in Libra and it likes it. So all of these 3 combined kind of create a person that's very, very helpful to other people, who gets a lot of information through for other people, and who can use that information to make the lives of other people better. So I mean, what I'm being prompted now and guided is that you've got a lot of different talents in a lot of different pots. So it might be something to consider, Elisa, that you're looking for work at the moment. It might be worth considering doing several different jobs. Working with flowers maybe 1 or 2 days a week, part-time. Working with people on a kind of intuitive level maybe. I don't know if you do tarot cards or anything like readings, but I have to say really, Elisa, that you most certainly have the ability to do that, because that Neptune, Sun and Mercury combo in your 11th house makes you the perfect empath. You can really pick up a lot of information from people. So you can either do that by reading for them using cards, or you can do it by doing healings on them, like Reiki or energy healing. And again, you don't need to train for that. You can do that. And when you heal people or you do spiritual healing on people, you will get a lot of messages come in naturally, and you can use that to counsel people. So that would be something that's unique to you. You could market that any way you wanted, and that would be a little bit of your own business, that you could build that over time. But I think it might be quite fun for you to have a lot of different little jobs that you're doing, because that would give you variety, and that would kind of revitalize you in terms of your working life. Because I think at the moment you feel tired, you want to just get to retirement, you want to be done with it. And rather than just kind of, drag yourself and plod along until retirement comes, it could be a way forward to kind of do things that are enjoyable to you. And then you could maybe supplement that with a regular day job, like working in a florist, or well, I've said that, working maybe in an office, or working with information, maybe working with the books for some company like that. Also, that would be good to maintain your pension, because you'll be paying into a pension pot, so if you're employed, that continues. So that's what I'm getting, that if you mix and match, you could be really successful. Now, that combination in your 11th house, it creates a T-square with Uranus and Chiron. And a T-square is an area of great motivation. Now, Uranus and Chiron create the opposition, create the friction, and then this empathetic, intuitive, communicative ability is the outlet for that. So Uranus is in Leo in your 8th. And what that means is you do something differently in conjunction with other people. Chiron is in your 2nd house, and Chiron is the part of the chart that often sees the most transformation and can be quite difficult. And it's in Aquarius, the sign of the teacher. So there may be something that you do differently within yourself, that you may have been told you can't do by your teachers. Like people telling you, that you need to conform, or that you weren't allowed to express yourself, or that you had to do things differently. And that would have created a lot of friction, and I think specifically in your financial life. So what I get in terms of that is that you want to do things a certain way, but I think you were told that you couldn't, that you had to conform to some specific way of doing things. I get the feeling of repression here. That would have caused some issues in your financial life, because, we all have gifts for a reason. Some of us may be seen as weirdos or whatever, but we have those abilities for a reason, because the universe gave us those, okay? So regardless of what other people say, when we use those gifts, we're able to provide for ourselves on this planet. We're all given something that we can use to be abundant and to thrive on planet Earth, and that's the way it works. So if you're repressing yourself, and if people are saying there's something about you that's very unusual and you can't use that, then that would have had a direct impact on your financial life, because that's your biggest talent. And the way out, the way to resolve this conflict, is to use your abilities, and I'm talking about the intuitive abilities, the empathetic abilities, to pick things up about people and to help them out. And that's a great theme in your life, and that will cause a lot of kind of friction and a lot of motivation as a result of that friction. Mars is sitting right on top of your IC, your roots, your family, in a water sign. And that is interesting, because Mars in a water sign creates a lot of frustration. And it's in the sector of your family life, in the 3rd house of communication. So again, I feel like there would have been some problems for you, the way you were allowed to speak, the way you were allowed to express yourself or communicate. But I also think there's a lot of frustration either with your mother or with your father in your life, where you felt infuriated at times, and you had a lot of anger and resentment that wasn't able to go anywhere. Unresolved resentment is really unhelpful, because it keeps you stuck in one emotion. It's important to either let go of the anger rather than hang on to it, because resentment is refeeling. And I think there's a tendency for you to refeel negative emotions. And I get a real sense that you've been really pushed down, Elisa, that you've really been constricted in many ways and told what to do. And the solution to that problem is to blow all of that away and to express yourself the way you want. That's going to be, because you can't make everyone happy. And I think you try. And that then internalizes the anger that makes you feel upset. and it's about resolving that anger by living your own truth and taking your power back. Venus and Saturn, Venus and Jupiter rather, are in Virgo in your 10th house, and that's a really, really positive sign of for your working life. Okay, so Jupiter is the planet of good luck, good fortune. It's in Virgo. Venus is the planet of love and what it is you like to do. That's also in Virgo. So when you apply yourself to something where you can work diligently and where you can work in a constructive, solid, secure way, you're going to be very, very excellent at that, and you're also going to enjoy it. Pluto is also in Venus on the other side of your midheaven in the 9th. And that's interesting because it means that you have a knack for the deeper, darker things of life. Like you even have a knack for medicine. You have a very great knack for working with the body, understanding illness. You can see beneath the surface of things to really understand the darker themes of life. Life, death, illness, all of those physical issues. So again, working with the body, and like those cards said, yoga and energy healing, please consider that, because you do have an ability to heal. And what's interesting as well, Elisa, is that your chart is very much a varied chart. You know, some people have a specific focus on one thing, and that's the only thing they can do in life. Your chart is very broad. It's varied. The one thing that it is specific on is that it's in the southern hemisphere, in the top part of the chart. So whatever it is you're going to do is in connection with other people. But within that sphere, within that scope, there's a lot of room for swapping and changing. There's an ability to heal. There's an ability to do admin and an eye for detail. There's an ability to be empathetic and to really pick up on other people. So it's very varied, and that's why I'm saying for you to be much more happy about your working life is to really work with that variation and work with that ability to swap and shift and change. Now, that is vague. You know, if you're saying I need a job, and you have the kind of chart that you do, it can seem like a problem, because it's like, goodness, I wish I could just focus on one thing and do that, you know? But it's not about that. It's about being smarter about this and accepting the way things are and saying, hey, I don't need to be as conformist and regular as everyone else. I don't need a 9 to 5 that's 40 hours a week. I can do 10 hours there and 20 hours there and another 10 hours there, and just really vary my week and make it much more colorful, if anything. Okay, so really don't begrudge your kind of ability to be flexible. Again, the strongest mode in your chart is the mutable signs. Okay, you have a lot of ability to shift and swap and change. So go with the flow and see what opportunities are available for you in lots of different areas, and don't rule something out because it doesn't give you a full-time opportunity or something like that. Now, the big thing that you are dreading is Saturn. Okay, and Saturn in your natal chart is right on top of your rising sign. It's 4 degrees away, and Saturn is the planet of structure and what you scrutinize. And because your Saturn is in Sagittarius, what you scrutinize is your path in life. You're always doubting yourself in terms of, am I doing the right thing? Am I moving in the right direction? Am I learning enough? Am I advancing myself enough? Sagittarius wants to move out into the world, explore randomly without having any preconceived notions, and Saturn wants to restrict and say, stay home. So within you, there's going to be a push and pull, 1 foot on the gas pedal, 1 foot on the brakes. I want to explore, but hang on a minute, is it safe? I want to learn something new, but hang on, is it useful? And it's back and forth, and that could be really annoying for you. On the plus side of that, it saves you from making a lot of mistakes that Sagittarians usually make. They just flit off into, they go to Bali and then they run off to Japan, and then it's just like, okay, let's learn this. And they can waste a lot of time doing that. So you're much more, you scrutinize that fickle tendency of Sagittarius a little bit more. So again, don't begrudge that too much. It's a safety valve. It's a safety mechanism for you. That means that you focus on specific things and you put them through rigorous quality control before you actually go ahead with them. So progress may be a little bit slower, but at least you don't just go off in random directions willy-nilly and waste your time. But what's really fascinating actually is that your North Node is in Sagittarius right on top of that Saturn. And the North Node is the dragon's head. It's what you're striving towards. It's what you want to achieve on a soul level. It's in the sign of the spiritual seeker, in the 12th house of spirituality and doing service and being selfless. So what you're trying to achieve is you're trying to understand and you're trying to gain some concept of what it means, what the meaning of life is, and what your spiritual anchor is. In past lives, you've always been someone who's been very physically oriented in terms of, I'm a person on planet Earth. I have a job, I work in a factory, or I work on a farm, or I work as a doctor, or I work as an artist. I'm here to make money, I'm here to take care of my body, I'm here to live my life, I'm here to procreate, very, very grounded. That's where you've come from, past lives. And in this life, it's much more about what sets my soul on fire on planet Earth, what makes me come alive, what is beyond this world, what is the meaning of being here, what really is the purpose of religion, what is the guiding force of the universe, all of that stuff. That's really what you're trying to discover. Now, Saturn, your big enemy here that you hate so much, is sitting right on top of that North Node, and it makes the search, one, difficult, because it's like banging up against a wall. Well, Saturn will constantly say, well, you're not going to get your answers here, reconsider. And then you try something else and Saturn's going to say, do you really think that's the right way forward? Reconsider. No. And that will get really old. But on the plus side, when you do break through that and you do look at different ways to explore spirituality and you overcome that initial resistance that Saturn gives you, you end up with something super, super solid and super structured. So you're going to be someone who may struggle to find meaning and a spiritual sense of connection. But once you have it, you will never, ever, ever lose it again. And a lot of people vacillate back and forth, between sometimes God is everything and everywhere, and sometimes I'm an atheist. Some people have that, and you don't. So you've got a harder journey, but the good thing is that the lessons you learn in this lifetime are really, really going to be rock solid for you. You don't ever need to worry about losing them. So your Saturn also trines your Uranus, and that's really, it's like, it creates a lot of like zaniness. Saturn is so structured, and then Uranus with its rebellion and craziness in your 8th house comes in and connects with it, and it's almost like, it's that feeling that I got earlier. It's like you want to break free. You just want to, if someone gave you a set of wings that you could put on and just fly off, I think that would be a fantasy for you, to just escape, to just bust out. And it's important for you to bust out in this lifetime and not to conform, because it frustrates you. In terms of your parents, I think your dad was quite a spiritual man, but very controlling, very emotional, possibly even overly emotional. And your mother was a very kind of practical, not selfish, but more focused on self. And really focused on what she could do with her life. So again, I don't think that you got a lot of warmth from your mother, and I don't think you got a lot of support from your father. And what you did get was a sense of restriction, that you have to fit into some box. And I mean, it makes sense. That's not a very nice feeling. We don't want to be crammed into boxes. We want to be able to express ourselves, and that's something that you have to work on. Okay, so that's your natal chart. Let me have a look at your questions. Okay, you're a Scorpio with Sag rising. This means Saturn has been with me for 3 years. And believe me when I tell you, I felt every day of that. It scares and exhausts me to even think of 3 more years of Saturn. If you would, I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. Okay, so let's see what Saturn is doing, because you're through your Saturn return. I don't know if you're aware of Saturn return. Saturn return is a very, very, very powerful time in someone's life. My first Saturn return completely changed my entire life around, and it's a very powerful time. It happens 3 times. It happens between the age of 28 and 29 and a half. Happens between the age of 56 and 58, sometimes a bit later, and then it happens again in your 80s. Now, Saturn return is think of it as the head teacher, the head principal of a school. And he makes you sit your exams at the end of each 28-year period. And he's like, these have been the themes that you've been exploring. It's time to sit the exams to see whether you're done with these themes or not. It gives you the opportunity to let go of themes in your life that are not helpful, because you've learned the lessons. So addiction, negative relationships, poverty, lack of direction, all of those things you can release, or you have to continue and bring them on into your next cycle. So you're now in a period when Saturn return right, when you said it's been with me for the last 3 years, it's because it's been in Scorpio. So it's been in your Sun, and now it's going into your Saturn. No, it's been in your Sun, and now it's going into your Saturn. Yeah. It's been in Scorpio, and it's now going into Sagittarius. Fine. So the actual return happens. Let me just go back, because it goes back and forth, back and forth. That's how it moves. It's like creeping along. So the actual return happened in January this year. Then it moved forward a bit, then it retrograded, then it went back over your natal Saturn in April. Then it retrograded now into Scorpio, it's going back. Over the summer, it's pulling away, and then it moves forward over your natal Saturn again in October this year. And it moves back a little bit, but that's it. So the final time you're going to feel that is going to be in October. So it happened big time in January, happens again in October, and then it moves forward into your first house. Now, your natal Saturn, your transiting Saturn, has been in Scorpio for the last couple of years, and it's been hovering around your 11th house and 12th house. Your 11th house is central to your personality. You've got your Sun, your Neptune, and your Mercury. And what that would have done is it would have made you doubt your own abilities. It would have made you doubt your own guidance system, because Saturn in Scorpio, again, it scrutinizes feelings, and it scrutinizes the deep and the feelings underneath. And your 11th house is all about getting messages from the underneath. That's in Scorpio. That's how you naturally operate. So it would have been like in the last 3 years, you would have had a barrier between how you naturally operate and how you navigate your life, because you don't overthink things, I think, too much. I think you feel your way along. I think that's how you walk through life. You feel this is okay, this is not right, and that's how you make progress, by listening to your feeling. Saturn would have put a blackout blind between your intuition and yourself. Think of the high priestess in the tarot. She's got all this intuition, but she's got a sheet behind her, blocking her off from this wealth of knowledge that she's got, and that's exactly what's been happening to you. So, Saturn goes into Sagittarius on the 18th of September this year, and for you that's going to be super positive, because Saturn in Scorpio for you doesn't feel good at all. It blocks you from your own internal guidance system. When it goes into Sagittarius now, I wouldn't worry too much, because your natal Saturn is in Sagittarius. So again, like I said at the beginning of this reading, it's like a homecoming. It feels natural, because you've been questioning your direction in life all your life. And that's what Saturn's going to do now. Are you going the right way forward? And you're already tapping into that because you're having this reading and you're asking for guidance in terms of what to do for work, and you're looking for jobs. So you're preempting that, and it feels much better. So you can see that it feels better because you don't have to doubt yourself, you just have to doubt the direction in life. And basically what that does is it creates a stable and productive and actual tangible outcome to your working life, because you ask the question, what am I supposed to do for work? You find the answer and then you go and do it. It's much less complicated. The Saturn return, though, going back to that, when it comes over your natal Saturn like that in Jan and October, you're sitting that exam. And the themes that would have come up is work and how you operate. Who are you? You know, Eliza, who are you? Are you really being the true you, or are you still repressing yourself? Are you doing something that you don't care about and that just pays the bills? Or are you doing something that you genuinely care about and that's part of your life purpose and in which you can express yourself? And that's the lesson of your Saturn return this year. Are you going to keep, going through the motions, or are you going to do something that really lights you up and that really makes you feel spiritually alive? Because that's really your lesson. That's really what Saturn wants you to learn. It's saying you're going to have problems if you play it safe and if you put yourself down. But if you have the bravery to kind of step out of that and be the way you want to be, then things are going to be much more satisfying. So Saturn is your friend, if anything. I mean, the delivery is sometimes really tough from Saturn, but he's helping you to get more stability in your life and to get a structure in your life that you're pleased with and happy with. Okay, so don't be scared and exhausted, because it's not going to be with you for another 3 years the way it was before. The way it was in Scorpio was difficult. The way it is in Sagittarius isn't going to be difficult, so don't worry about it, okay? So those are my thoughts on it. Currently, I'm looking for a job, although my fondest wish is to retire. I'm particularly interested in personal finances and jobs and what you see there. Okay, so let's see in terms of... Okay, let's see what's coming up via your chart. Okay, Jupiter moves into your 10th house of career in November this year, November 2015. And what that does is it grows your working life. So it could mean that you find something then, or you find something before then, and then it really expands and grows for you. But the trend is a positive one because things get bigger. Saturn could be up there saying, let's make it smaller, let's make it more restrictive, but it isn't. It's Jupiter, your chart ruler. So Jupiter is very, very powerful in your chart, and it sits on top of your natal Jupiter, and there's no way that you won't have a job or several jobs before the end of the year. So that's the first thing. Let's look at jobs here in terms of the cards. Okay, I'm just thinking whether I should move the camera so you can actually see these. I think I may. Let's just move this stuff around. There we go. Okay, so in terms of your working life, it's time to get a new idea. Okay, the way you've been doing things is fine, but it's restrictive. And I've really picked up during this reading that it's all about doing something new, not necessarily retraining, but doing something new that you can have more fun in your working life. The thing that's preventing it is you've been applying for jobs and you've been approaching work as something that's that's unpleasant and that's not satisfying and that you have to do to pay the bills, but that's not enjoyable. And that's what's been slowing down the process, and that's what's been putting you off. The root cause is that if you focus on what it is you love to do, you will find work. So if you like flowers, and I keep getting flowers for you, then please do that. In the past, you've been bound to your jobs and you felt trapped by them, so you don't want to feel trapped again, therefore you're not getting a job. It makes sense. It's a way of protecting yourself from being trapped again, which is why you're not doing it. So you've got to have faith that you can have a job that you're enjoying, that won't trap you, but actually support you. You don't want the conflict either, and I really get the sense that you're shying away from work. I really think that you feel like it's going to be too much trouble, you don't want to do it, you don't want to be hooked and locked into something. And that's why I also think mixing and matching and having a couple of jobs would be a better idea for you. So in the future, you've got to focus on what it is you enjoy doing to get the growth in. If you don't change your approach to this, it won't happen. You've got to change your attitude around your job search and really look at something that you can enjoy. If you go in saying, oh, I don't want this job really, but I've got 5 years to retire and I'll just kind of do this, that's going to come across. That energy won't help you get a job. So you need to change that around and go for something that you can see yourself having fun with. I know that sounds trite and simple, especially when there's been a recession and the economy and blah blah blah, but the truth is that it just takes one job, it just takes one employer to hire you. And if you go in there and you're really just enthusiastic and excited by the prospect of working in that place, then the employer they'll pick up on that and they'll hire someone like that. The guidance is that you will find new work. There will be new life in your working life. You're not quite there yet. It's not going to be as difficult as you think to change your opinion around. So basically, this is a formula, basically. All you have to do is you have to change your thinking around the job, make a list of a couple of the things that you would like to do, ideally, and practically, where you don't have to spend 7 years at university, okay, but that you could do and that you would enjoy. Make a list, apply for those, and I really think things will turn around for you. I think you can have a job really soon. Okay, they're not telling me exactly when. What they're telling me is that you have to change your attitude first around work. And make that change first. It's about the ideas, and they're not giving me the timings on it. The astrology told me that you're definitely going to have work before the end of the year, if not sooner. But what the cards are saying is it's the thinking around it that is the most vital and important thing that you can become aware of. Okay, so let's look at finances. Let me just turn the camera back. Lots of swapping going on here. There we go. Okay, what are we looking at? Finances. Okay. So in terms of the job situation, I see that improving because Jupiter is like such a positive influence. And in November, Venus and Mars are also up there, really energizing that part of your chart. But also the North Node is there, and the North Node again represents what you're trying to achieve on a soul level. So the message I'm getting now, and again this is totally different, is that you may even get something that a job that fulfills you spiritually. So either something that really lights you up in terms of the actual work you're doing, helps you advance spiritually, or you're working in something that has a spiritual slant to it, like maybe for a spiritual organization or a meditation organization or a charity or something like that. So again, really broaden the scope and look at this job search in terms of what will I enjoy and where can I be of most service and what can I offer. And what's going to excite me? Where am I going to be excited working for them? In terms of your finances, I think your finances have been somewhat up and down. Obviously if you're not working, I'm sure they haven't been super exciting. But the reason I'm saying that is because Pluto is in your second house of finances, and Pluto is the planet of rebirth and regeneration. It's like the phoenix rising from the ashes, and it's currently in your second house in retrograde until the end of September. And when it's in retrograde, it kind of pulls away negativity. So it may feel like not a lot is happening right now, but financially it's not amazing, but in terms of the job situation as a whole, it's very good, because what it's doing is it's pulling away the negativity out of your working life, out of your attitudes towards work, out of your perception of work, what work can be, what it ought to be, all of the things that I've just discussed. So it's a really good indicator that you can let go of all of that. And then when you let go of that, you can create new space and put something good in. So think of the retrograde almost like the ashes falling down, and then when it moves forward again, it's the phoenix coming up. The phoenix comes up in October in your second house. So again, the fall/autumn, that's really when I see work really, really picking up for you, and I also see finances really picking up for you and really improving. Okay, what the cards are saying is that be careful not to overspend. You may be overspending right now to make yourself feel better. Shopping to give yourself a lift or a boost. We're all guilty of that at some point. But the positive thing that I'm seeing here is that there's some expectation that you will find something that's exciting. And that's really good, because if you have an expectation, you're halfway there. If you believe that there's a job out there that can really make you feel good and that is interesting as well as paying the bills, then it is so great, because that belief will actually create that in your reality. If you think all work is terrible and you can never find something, that will totally limit your search and what's actually going to come about. The hidden influence here is that you are meant to work and you're meant to do something that's really meaningful. You have a lot to offer. You don't have to retrain. I don't get that. Things are going to be, you can transfer your skills, and you don't have to make some big decision around this. You can continue doing what you're doing, but get clear on the type of jobs that you would enjoy rather than just seeing them as a job. So in terms of the finances, I don't see particularly major changes until you find new work, and when you do, then things obviously start to grow and improve and pick up in your financial life. But until then, I don't see any major crises or that you have to worry about running out of money. I don't really get that. I think you'll be okay until you find this new job. So hopefully that takes the pressure off a little bit. Okay, so I've looked at some of your transits here. Jupiter is in the 10th. I've already spoken about that. It's going to enter your 10th house and it stays there. It enters in November this year and it stays there until December 2016. So between November 15 and December 16, it's going to be a really, really good year for you in terms of your working life. Okay, so please just expect that good to come. It's going to be the kind of thing you want, a job you enjoy that pays well. Okay, so really look forward to that and just get through these last couple of months until that happens. Saturn is doing your Saturn return, and I've spent quite a lot of time on that, so I'm not going to touch on that too much. Pluto I've also looked at, which is kind of pulling away the negativity out of your finances and makes room for good to come in. Neptune is currently sitting on your I see in your third house. So this is a time to really think about what it is, who you are, what it is you've kept repressed your whole life, and how you're going to channel that out. Bursting out is going to be fundamental in helping you find the job, because it's going to alter your energy. You know, when you feel more liberated and free, then you can find work that's much more appealing. And then finally, Uranus is the planet of the unexpected and energy and miracles, and that's actually in your 5th house of romance and relationships. So I don't know what your relationship life is like, but if you're single, expect something to appear there, someone to appear. If you're married, expect the romance and the actual energy of the relationship to improve. Whenever Uranus comes into any area, it just charges it with energy and movement and excitement and really unexpectedness. So that's very, very positive for you. Just going to double check your email that I've answered all your questions. Yes, okay. So finally, let's look at your solar return chart here. And the solar return chart is from your birthday to your birthday. So I'm going to do, it's a bit of an awkward time because it's August, September, August. It's only 3 months left. Let's do that. Okay, unsurprisingly, the biggest themes have been breaking free of the roots and the shackles of your background that have really kept you repressed and trapped, finding what it is you want to do at work, and refusing to settle in terms of your working life, and getting a little bit more forceful and powerful and aggressive in terms of finding something that you want, rather than expecting it maybe to come to you, but really saying, this is something that I could enjoy, I'm going to take ownership of that, I'm going to make my working life the way I want it to be, and I'm going to apply for this job. Okay, that will then allow you to have the kind of finances that you've been dreaming of and that you want to live the life that you want to live. And this, for the last 3 months as well, the moon is in Sagittarius, sitting on top of your rising sign. So that, you know, even though Saturn has been very difficult for you over the last 3 years, I think this last year you've been kind of supported a little bit, and it's not felt as lonely, almost like, you know, you're trudging along by yourself. So reach out to your guides, reach out to the universe, ask for help, say thank you, be grateful for what's coming up, and really look forward to a very positive future, which I see coming up for you, especially in terms of your working life. So I hope that's been useful to you. If you've got any questions for me in future, then please get in touch via the email. And if you want to leave any feedback for me, you can on the website, gregoryscott.com. Just click on the testimonials tab and you can leave a comment in the box. Have a wonderful week, and I'll speak to you soon.